Good afternoon. This is Guillermo Kopp again from Sibos. We are here with 7,000 business decision makers, senior executives in the banking world. It's a fantastic event, and it's a pleasure and an honor to have with us Norm Judah, the Chief Technology Officer, Microsoft.
Hola Guillermo and hola Latam. Great to be here. Thank you.
Norm, now that we are here and we see a number of business topics developed, and a question I get asked a lot is, what is Microsoft doing in a business event? I mean, how do we play out, how we add value to these business executives that are here?
So I think our participation is really on two dimensions here. One of them is Microsoft as a technology provider and Microsoft with our partners, and we see great representation in the booth, but also our various partners here providing banking solutions. But I think there's another aspect, which was it's incredibly important for Microsoft to be seen to be a first-class citizen in the participation of the definition of what the future of banking will look like. I actually think we have a massive role to play. What's potentially different for us is the audience that's here are bankers. I mean, suit and tie, I look like a banker. We have to be able to be seen to be with that community and actually understand the business environment they operate in, the regulatory environment, how the countries, governments are changing. That allows us to play a part. We have to play that part. And so providing the right sets of technologies and enablement to those people, incredibly important, and that's why we have to be here.
Thank you, Norm. And now that we talk of the things we do, topics that are very hot here in the Sibos event are cyber security, artificial intelligence, payments, of course, open banking. What can you share with us about how Microsoft is differentiating in these areas?
Actually, the place I'd love to start is with the cloud, because if we were here 5 years ago, I'm not sure where Sibos was 5 years ago, the commentary about the cloud at that point was if, not when. And I guess one of the things that's different about this event is all these bankers are trying to decide how, not if. That's one of the real changes, which is at the cloud level. So two interesting announcements we had early in the week. One was actually with Swift, the sponsors of Sibos themselves, which is taking their payment network and actually running it in Azure. And there's lots of good reasons to do that, but some of it is just because of security. The security of the cloud, scalability, business continuity provides a real option. So that's one side. And so I think our presence here around those technologies has really opened some people's eyes about what's possible. You talked a little bit there about sort of artificial intelligence, and again, inside of financial services, we see some very sophisticated AI use around fraud detection, for example, maybe even for cybersecurity. But in the financial services industry, the customer side, the customer affinity side, personalization to the customer, deeply understanding customer relationships, next best action to the customer, what a massive opportunity. So we've got the tools and technologies, and I think the challenge that we face is we need to get to the business owners, the folks who are here, and actually have them understand how AI can actually help them get more customers, sell more products, personalize their services. And that's probably a different conversation that we're having rather than the speed of the cloud and the size of the virtual machine and how much memory we've got. And so what I love about our presence here, it's actually a business conversation, because there's very few techie people around here. This is mainly bankers trying to get to this fundamental conversation about what is it that you, Microsoft, can do to actually make my business better. A new thing for us, but a huge opportunity for us in that place as well.
What can you say about how we go with the ecosystem, and most importantly, the data that is involved in that ecosystem, Norm?
So again, if you step back a little bit, the success that we've had in the cloud was driven to a large degree by regulation, but fundamentally about trust. We actually took a position about the trusted cloud and everything that meant. One of the things, for example, was we were very clear that your data is your data and we're not going to mess with it, and you can do with your data, but we're not going to touch it, which is differentiated in the market today. We're not competing with our customers. We're not competing on data. We're not competing on business model. And the way the Microsoft model has actually been working for the last 30, 40 years is that, frankly, we make money when other people make money. And so we have to make sure that our partners and our customers are successful. So this first notion of trust in the cloud and not competing, but also this wonderful ecosystem. Again, we won't compete with them. And how do we provide them with the vehicle for them to be successful in the customer scenario? When you come to AI, we're actually at that same sort of break point with AI and data, which was how can the customer see value in the data? Now, it turns out we actually have some pretty interesting data as a company. We actually know a lot about populations and demographics, and how can we provide that data and give it to the customer for them to build better solutions? And so part of it is we're not going to compete. Secondly, trust to the cloud and trust in AI. And that's super differentiated today. But there's one more place where Microsoft actually stands out today. And that is around the ethics and the ethics of AI, which was, we believe, every single company, small companies and big companies, will be an AI company. We said the same thing years ago, which is that every company is a software company. Well, every company is a software company, and every company will become an AI company. As a consequence of that, has to have a position relative to ethics, because an ethical failure can deprecate your brand value immediately. And we've seen some stellar examples of that recently. And so a company understanding the impact of the ethics and what that means to them is important. And so we've published a book, which is available on our website, aka.mswac, Future Computed. You can download the PDF, which is the position that we take about ethics. And one of the things that it establishes there is a principled approach. It talks about 6 core principles for ethics. One of them is privacy. And so GDPR actually folds in underneath the ethical framework that allows us to tackle this at a broader problem around transparency and risk and harm as these core elements. And so we believe that every company will have to write their own AI manifesto. Much as we've written ours, which we've published, every company, particularly public companies, will have to actually have a position around ethics. And we've been clear that because of the position we've taken, there are things we will do, but there are also things we will not do. And we think that's going to happen to the same way to, particularly in financial services. There are things they will do and things that they shouldn't do. But as they start to sort of incubate AI and experiment with it.
Thank you, Norm. And ethics and privacy, those are business conversations, resonate very well with our audience here at Sibos. Thank you indeed.
Thank you.